I'm really delighted to be here, and I'm very excited about this report being published. Baroness, I was sanctioned for producing a similar report when I was able to showcase that supply chains were tainted with slave labour, so I apologise what may come next your way. But this report is important. It touches on something that Aaron said, which is it's a test. It's a test for companies to showcase whether they are going to pass or fail, and they're not going to be judged by China. They're going to be judged by the free world. Now, let me just give you some history. A few months ago, when I was on the Business Select Committee, I produced a report on supply chain transparency. As you know, many firms in the UK and in the West have to showcase their impact on the environment, have to showcase their diversity, have to showcase how clean their supply chains were. And it's occurred to me and many others that many firms were doing so, but when it came to Xinjiang and China, they weren't able to do the basic due diligence to showcase exactly what was happening in those factories. And by the power of that report, we had many companies come forward and give evidence. Some, you'll be surprised to hear, actually came in front of a select committee and said, we just didn't know what was going on. It really can't be that bad. Of course, we've never been in to check, but it really can't be that bad. And the naivety was huge. What's important about this report and my select committee report is there's nowhere left to hide. Evidence is now building up, clear evidence based on facts, not fiction, showcasing what is and isn't happening in Xinjiang. So this report is incredibly important. It shows that it's very complex, but there are ways of trying to get this right. And the report, and also, Baroness, one of the things you highlighted was about the environment. It shows you that 10 years ago, when we were asking businesses to align their values and their business models to deal with the environment, everyone thought it was for the birds. So what we're talking now, people may say it's impossible, but we will get there. What's important is that the obsession with the environment at the moment means that it is far superior over the obsession over human rights. And let me give you a brief lowdown on what's happening in Xinjiang. There are up to 2 million people in prison. When they're in prison, they're producing stuff that ends up in our supply chains, it ends up on our shelves here. They don't know why they're in prison. They have no ability to leave prison. They could be in prison for having a beard, for wearing a headscarf, talking their own language, or practicing a faith. The birth rate amongst Uyghur women has been driven down to an amount that's never happened anywhere else in the world, 84% in one part of Xinjiang. 500,000 children are in re-education camps, not because they don't have Uyghur parents, but because China is trying to break that basic of humanity, the link between parent and child. There are 5 factors of genocide, and all 5 factors, the final is the absolute destruction of people. All 5 factors are being met. The evidence is there in black and white. The evidence was so profound that I, with my colleagues, presented it to the House of Commons. They unanimously decided that indeed genocide was taking place. So firms have nowhere left to hide. They cannot say, we did not know, we had no idea, or it was just too complicated for us to do business elsewhere. So these reports are critical, and hopefully they'll enable all of us to be far more powerful in our arguments going forward. And of course, one of the arguments that me and my fellow colleague MPs are trying to raise with the government is to give it the confidence for it to have a clear strategy on China. Now, I'm also on IPAC, as Anne mentioned, and Timmy mentioned the China Research Group. There's many views within that space amongst Conservative MPs, but fundamentally, we cannot be selling away our values, our hard-fought values, for a preferential trade deal or working with China, knowing that everything that we stand for will eventually be undermined. There is no doubt that maybe in 30 years' time, China will be the biggest player on the planet. But who will we be if we don't assert our values and use every lever we have right here and right now? So we need to get this right for the long term, not just for the here and now. It's going to be complicated. These reports matter. AUKUS matters. It shows America's already declared a genocide. Australia's already had to deal with quite tough issues. So we're the junior partner there. Everything is moving in the right direction. A number of us have been banging on about it for a long time. A number of us have been sanctioned, but we're not going to stop. Eventually, the decision makers, the power brokers will see this is not worth fighting on China's terms. We need to remind them who we are and the country we want to leave behind for our children.